They said the streets of Atlanta had seen chaos before, but nothing prepared anyone for the sight of flashing blue lights outside a luxury boutique where Karlie, Red, was dragged into custody while screaming that she had been set up. The moment the handcuffs clicked, onlookers froze. Phones shot up. Fans were shocked. Even the officers looked uneasy, as if they knew this arrest was only the opening scene of something far bigger and far darker than anyone expected. By the time the footage hit social media, the comments exploded with confusion. People asked the same thing again and again. What could Karlie possibly have done this time? Yet before anyone could form a theory, another bombshell dropped, and it rewired the entire situation. Because within an hour of Karlie's arrest, an anonymous source sent a file to several Atlanta bloggers. A single message appeared with it: check the tape before she blames the wrong people. No one knew what that meant until one blogger pressed play. What followed was so chaotic, so reckless, and so deeply tied to the love and hip-hop world that it caused an instant meltdown. The recording showed Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris in a private room, their voices low, their tones sharp, speaking about Karlie in a way that made listeners freeze. The leak spread like wildfire. Comment sections overflowed. Viewers insisted this had to be the piece of the puzzle that explained why officers moved so fast on Karlie. Others claimed the timing was too perfect. Emotions ran high as fans argued, and the entire Atlanta entertainment circle seemed to shift overnight. Inside the station, Karlie was said to be in full panic mode. One officer later whispered that she kept repeating the same thing: "They're trying to bury me before the truth comes out." Her voice grew louder each time, echoing down the hallway. If her words were an act, it was a convincing one. If they weren't, then someone had pulled off a trap with serious precision. The whole room buzzed with tension. Karlie demanded a phone call. She wanted her lawyer. She wanted Rashida. She wanted someone to witness what she called a dirty setup that started long before they put cuffs on me. Her frustration rose until one officer threatened to remove her from the waiting area. Karlie stared him down like she was facing a reunion stage brawl. Meanwhile, Rashida froze when she saw the leaked clip. She watched it twice, then a third time, unable to decide what stunned her more: Kirk's voice, Mendeecees' warning tone, or the way both men seemed to be speaking about something they never wanted exposed. The family was left divided. Friends were torn between loyalty and fear, and social media only fueled the fire as new theories piled on every hour. But under all the shouting, one question grew louder than the rest. What was on that tape that made the police move before Karlie could even explain her side? And why were Kirk and Mendeecees sounding like men who knew something dangerous was coming? When the first hour after Karlie's arrest passed, the city felt restless, as if everyone sensed that something bigger was brewing beneath the surface. The police station lobby kept filling with chatter, whispers rising each time someone new walked in or out, and even the officers looked uneasy. They had expected a routine intake, a celebrity meltdown maybe, but nothing like the storm that followed. Karlie sat on the metal bench with her hands shaking, trying to steady her breathing while replaying the moment of her arrest. She kept insisting she hadn't done anything wrong, that the timing felt too perfect, too planned, and she kept repeating one name under her breath, almost like a warning to herself: Kirk, Kirk. But every time an officer got close enough to hear her, she shifted her tone and claimed she was talking to her lawyer. Across the city, people watched the leaked tape in shock. The clip wasn't long, but the tone was unmistakable. Kirk sounded tense, like a man who had been dragged into something he couldn't control, while Mendeecees spoke like someone who knew a secret that could ruin more than one person if it ever reached the wrong hands. The clip started with muffled arguing, then cleared enough for listeners to hear Mendeecees say, "If she goes down, she won't go quietly. You know that." Kirk responded with a frustrated growl, saying he'd tried to talk to her, tried to calm her, but she kept pushing for something he didn't want exposed. Fans jumped on that line immediately, claiming this had to be connected to something messy. Maybe personal, maybe old, maybe tied to the complicated history they all shared on-screen and off. Meanwhile, at the station, Karlie begged for her phone call. She wasn't just shaken, she was furious. Tears blurred her lashes, but they didn't soften her voice. She demanded someone bring her a phone before the situation spiraled further. When she finally got her call, she dialed Rashida with trembling fingers. The moment Rashida picked up, Karlie's voice cracked, not from fear but from pure frustration. "I didn't do anything," she whispered hard. "Whatever you saw online, whatever they're saying, it's not what happened." Rashida was still reeling from the leaked tape. She couldn't shake the sound of Kirk's voice, tight and strained, saying things he never meant to be heard. She held the phone between her shoulder and ear while staring at the paused frame of the clip on her laptop. trying to make sense of the hidden meaning in their words. "Karlie, I don't know what's going on," Rashida said quietly, trying to keep the tremor out of her voice. "This whole thing, it doesn't look good. And that clip, why would they be talking like that?" Karlie inhaled sharply, then replied in a low voice, "Because they're scared. They know the truth, and they know if I talk before they do, they'll look bad." Her tone was filled with something deeper than panic. It sounded like a threat mixed with pain. Rashida felt her chest tighten. She knew the history between all of them was tangled and often toxic, but she had never heard Karlie sound like a woman who felt cornered. Back at the station, a second phone call arrived, this time for the officers. Someone high up had ordered them to hold Karlie longer than usual for questioning. The officers exchanged glances. They knew this was turning political, personal, maybe even dangerous. Fans online kept refreshing for updates. Live streams popped up outside the station. People shouted questions, hoping someone would give them a clue about what was coming next. Some fans posted that they had seen Karlie earlier that day arguing loudly with an unknown man outside a restaurant. Others claimed she had been trying to expose something huge on social media, but her post mysteriously vanished minutes after she uploaded it. But the narrative shifted again when a new detail leaked. Someone claimed there was a longer version of the Kirk and Mendeecees conversation. Bloggers scrambled to get their hands on it. Rumors swirled that the extended tape exposed a dangerous plan, though no one had proof yet. Rashida finally arrived at the station, sunglasses hiding her red eyes, her voice tight with worry. She demanded answers, trying to stay calm as she spoke with the officers, but her frustration kept slipping through. "What exactly are you holding her for?" she asked. "This doesn't feel right. Y'all acting like she robbed a bank." The officers gave vague responses, saying the investigation was active and sensitive. They added that evidence had surfaced linking Karlie to a situation that needed further verification. Rashida felt something twist in her stomach. The phrases were too formal, too rehearsed, as if someone had told them exactly what to say. When she finally got to see Karlie through the small glass window, Karlie looked exhausted, her hair messy, her face tense. She pressed her palms to the glass. "They're trying to break me," she whispered. "Don't let them." Rashida pressed her hand to the glass from the other side and whispered back, "Tell me everything. Every detail. What happened before they took you?" Karlie's voice lowered, trembling with emotion. "It's not about what I did. It's about what I found. And Kirk knows it." Rashida froze. "What did you find?" Karlie looked around to make sure no officers were close enough to overhear. "There's another tape," she said. "Not the one online. A different one. And if it comes out, everything changes." Rashida felt the blood drain from her face. She had no idea what Karlie meant, but the look in her eyes was enough to convince her that this mess wasn't random. Across town, Kirk paced around his house like a man walking across thin ice. He threw glances at his phone every few seconds. Messages kept pouring in from friends, bloggers, even producers wanting to know what the leaked tape meant. But Kirk wasn't talking. He refused to pick up, refused to explain, refused to confirm or deny anything. Mendeecees wasn't answering anyone either. Some said he had left Atlanta hours earlier. Others swore they saw him meeting someone in a parking lot before disappearing again. Fans grew restless. Theories grew wilder by the minute. Some claimed the leak was revenge. Some said it was a warning. Some even believed Karlie had been targeted to silence her. As the sun dipped low behind the skyline, the tension only grew thicker. Officers moved in and out of the interrogation room, whispering among themselves. In and out of the interrogation room, whispering among themselves. While Karlie sat with her head in her hands, Rashida waited in the hall, pacing back and forth, her nerves frayed. And in the middle of it all, a new rumor started to spread like smoke through a crowded room. Someone online claimed that the tape wasn't just a conversation. They said it captured something else. Something physical. Something explosive. Something that could tear apart every relationship tied to this circle. And according to the anonymous source, Karlie wasn't just a witness. She was holding proof that could flip the entire story in a direction no one was ready for. By the time midnight approached, the city felt frozen between truth and chaos. And none of them knew that the next hour would blow the story open in a way no one could prepare for. When the clock struck midnight, a new layer of chaos descended on Atlanta's entertainment scene. Outside the station, the crowd had swelled into hundreds of fans and journalists, their phones casting flickering lights across the sidewalk, each person desperate to capture a moment that could explode online. Whispers turned into shouts as rumors circulated that the extended tape Karlie had mentioned wasn't just damning it implicated several key players in schemes no one had expected. Inside, Karlie sat back, her eyes scanning the room, her mind racing as if she could see every angle of what was about to unfold. She knew that if the tape leaked, Every alliance she once trusted could crumble. Every secret kept for years could be exposed in minutes, and the fallout could stretch far beyond the city limits. Rashida kept pacing outside, her hands clenched into fists as she tried to steady her nerves. She whispered to herself, "Just tell me what happened. Karlie, just tell me." But Karlie wasn't ready to spill everything. She knew timing was critical. She knew that one wrong word could turn friends into enemies and media attention into a frenzy that might never subside. Meanwhile, Kirk and Mendeecees were separately dealing with the aftermath of the leak. Kirk sat in his living room, staring at his phone in disbelief, replaying the clip over and over. His jaw tightened every time he heard Mendeecees' voice warning him, and he realized how reckless it had been to discuss such sensitive matters without considering who might be listening. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was on edge in a car parked in an isolated lot, checking over his shoulder. Aware that someone might be following him, the tape was circulating faster than either of them could contain, and the possibility that someone close to them had orchestrated the leak made every thought of loyalty suspicious. As dawn approached, social media became a battlefield. Fans were dissecting every frame, analyzing every tone, and forming theories that were simultaneously shocking and absurd. Some insisted Karlie had orchestrated the entire scenario as a stunt to boost her profile, while others claimed she was innocent and being targeted for knowing too much. The line between reality and fabrication blurred, and the public's hunger for more only grew. Back at the station, Karlie was finally allowed a private meeting with her lawyer. Her hands trembled as she recounted every interaction, every argument, every hidden threat she had witnessed. "They're not just covering up," she said, her voice low and urgent. "They're trying to control the narrative, but this tape, it tells the truth. If it comes out, it'll change everything." Her lawyer nodded, scribbling notes furiously. The room was silent except for the occasional click of a pen, and Karlie realized the gravity of the moment. She was no longer just a participant. She was a pivotal force in a storm that could engulf everyone in their circle. As word of her meeting leaked, journalists descended on the area, trying to piece together the fragments of the story. Outside, fans chanted her name, some in support, others demanding answers, their emotions running high. In a nearby studio, producers debated whether to air segments that could capitalize on the unfolding drama. Some saw it as an opportunity for ratings, while others feared legal repercussions if the content proved too incendiary. The tension was palpable. Karlie, meanwhile, sat quietly, absorbing the chaos around her, aware that her next move could define not just her career, but the reputations of everyone involved. Hours passed with slow, torturous deliberation. Every phone call, every message, every new leak added pressure. The city seemed to hold its breath as alliances shifted and secrets threatened to surface. Kirk attempted to reach out to associates, trying to understand who might have allowed the tape to leak, but every answer he received deepened the confusion. Mendeecees, in a parallel struggle, contemplated whether to confront the situation directly or retreat until the storm passed. Each option carried risks that could lead to public disgrace, private betrayal, or worse. Meanwhile, Karlie prepared mentally for her next confrontation. She knew that when she faced the press, the cameras, the fans, and potentially Kirk and Mendeecees themselves, she had to appear composed. Yet she also needed to ensure that the truths she held would be delivered with impact. The tape, she realized, was more than just a recording. It was a key, a weapon, and a shield all at once. As dawn gave way to morning, the city's social media feeds were inundated with speculation. Fans were dissecting every detail, from the tone of Karlie's voice during the call to the tension between Kirk and Mendeecees on the tape. The narrative was spinning faster than anyone could control, and it became clear that this situation was no longer about a single arrest. It had evolved into a complex web of deception, loyalty, and hidden agendas. Amidst the chaos, one thing was undeniable. Every decision, every word spoken, and every secret revealed would have consequences that extended far beyond the night's drama. The storm had only just begun, and Karlie, along with Kirk and Mendeecees, were at the eye of a hurricane that promised to reshape the landscape of Atlanta's celebrity world in ways no one could predict. As she sat quietly, absorbing the full weight of her situation, she realized that her next move had to be calculated, deliberate, and fearless. The city outside continued to buzz, unaware that the real drama was only just beginning, and that the tape held secrets capable of igniting betrayals, revealing hidden truths, and sending shockwaves through every corner of their intertwined lives. When the clock struck midnight, a new layer of chaos descended on Atlanta's entertainment scene. Outside the station, the crowd had swelled into hundreds of fans and journalists, their phones casting flickering lights across the sidewalk, each person desperate to capture a moment that could explode online. Whispers turned into shouts as rumors circulated that the extended tape Karlie had mentioned wasn't just damning it implicated several key players in schemes no one had expected. Inside, Karlie sat back, her eyes scanning the room, her mind racing as if she could see every angle of what was about to unfold. She knew that if the tape leaked, every alliance she once trusted could crumble, every secret kept for years could be exposed in minutes, and the fallout could stretch far beyond the city limits. Rashida kept pacing outside, her hands clenched into fists as she tried to steady her nerves. She whispered to herself, "Just tell me what happened. Karlie, just tell me." But Karlie wasn't ready to spill everything. She knew timing was critical. She knew that one wrong word could turn friends into enemies and media attention into a frenzy that might never subside. Meanwhile, Kirk and Mendeecees were separately dealing with the aftermath of the leak. Kirk sat in his living room, staring at his phone in disbelief, replaying the clip over and over. His jaw tightened every time he heard Mendeecees' voice warning him, and he realized how reckless it had been to discuss such sensitive matters without considering who might be listening. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was on edge in a car parked in an isolated lot, checking over his shoulder. Aware that someone might be following him, the tape was circulating faster than either of them could contain, and the possibility that someone close to them had orchestrated the leak made every thought of loyalty suspicious. As dawn approached, social media became a battlefield. Fans were dissecting every frame, analyzing every tone, and forming theories that were simultaneously shocking and absurd. Some insisted Karlie had orchestrated the entire scenario as a stunt to boost her profile, while others claimed she was innocent and being targeted for knowing too much. The line between reality and fabrication blurred, and the public's hunger for more only grew. Back at the station, Karlie was finally allowed a private meeting with her lawyer. Her hands trembled as she recounted every interaction, every argument, every hidden threat she had witnessed. "They're not just covering up," she said, her voice low and urgent. "They're trying to control the narrative, but this tape, it tells the truth. If it comes out, it'll change everything." Her lawyer nodded, scribbling notes furiously. The room was silent except for the occasional click of a pen, and Karlie realized the gravity of the moment. She was no longer just a participant. She was a pivotal force in a storm that could engulf everyone in their circle. As word of her meeting leaked, journalists descended on the area, trying to piece together the fragments of the story. Outside, fans chanted her name, some in support, others demanding answers, their emotions running high. In a nearby studio, producers debated whether to air segments that could capitalize on the unfolding drama. Some saw it as an opportunity for ratings, while others feared legal repercussions if the content proved too incendiary. The tension was palpable. Karlie, meanwhile, sat quietly, absorbing the chaos around her, aware that her next move could define not just her career, but the reputations of everyone involved. Hours passed with slow, torturous deliberation. Every phone call, every message, every new leak added pressure. The city seemed to hold its breath as alliances shifted and secrets threatened to surface. Kirk attempted to reach out to associates, trying to understand who might have allowed the tape to leak, but every answer he received deepened the confusion. Mendeecees, in a parallel struggle, contemplated whether to confront the situation directly or retreat until the storm passed. Each option carried risks that could lead to public disgrace, private betrayal, or worse. Meanwhile, Karlie prepared mentally for her next confrontation. She knew that when she faced the press, the cameras, the fans, and potentially Kirk and Mendeecees themselves, she had to appear composed. Yet she also needed to ensure that the truths she held would be delivered with impact. The tape, she realized, was more than just a recording. It was a key, a weapon, and a shield all at once. As dawn gave way to morning, the city's social media feeds were inundated with speculation. Fans were dissecting every detail, from the tone of Karlie's voice during the call to the tension between Kirk and Mendeecees on the tape. The narrative was spinning faster than anyone could control, and it became clear that this situation was no longer about a single arrest. It had evolved into a complex web of deception, loyalty, and hidden agendas. Amidst the chaos, one thing was undeniable: every decision, every word spoken, and every secret revealed would have consequences that extended far beyond the night's drama. The storm had only just begun, and Karlie, along with Kirk and Mendeecees, were at the eye of a hurricane that promised to reshape the landscape of Atlanta's celebrity world in ways no one could predict. As she sat quietly, absorbing the full weight of her situation, she realized that her next move had to be calculated, deliberate, and fearless. The city outside continued to buzz, unaware that the real drama was only just beginning, and that the tape held secrets capable of igniting betrayals, revealing hidden truths, and sending shockwaves through every corner of their intertwined lives. The morning air was thick with tension, the city still buzzing from the overnight leaks that had shaken every corner of the entertainment world. Karlie's arrest had become the headline that no one could ignore, and the implications of the leaked tape now loomed like a shadow over everyone connected to it. Inside the station, Karlie sat quietly, her hands folded tightly in her lap, listening to the whispers of officers moving about. Every glance felt like scrutiny, every murmur a potential threat. She knew that outside, the public was forming opinions without understanding the full story, and that ignorance could be as dangerous as malice. Rashida remained at her side, unwavering in her support, but even she could sense the stakes rising with each passing moment. "We need to control this before it spirals," Rashida murmured, though her voice carried an edge of uncertainty. Karlie nodded slowly, realizing that control was a fragile illusion in a world where secrets were currency and trust was nearly impossible to find. At the same time, Kirk and Mendeecees were grappling with the consequences of the tape. Kirk paced in his home, phone in hand, replaying messages from friends, producers, and insiders, all of them asking the same question: what now? The tape, initially intended as a private warning, had transformed into a public spectacle, and the consequences were unpredictable. Mendeecees, sitting in his car parked far from any familiar eyes, ran through every possible scenario in his head. Should he come forward and explain, risk exposing his own vulnerabilities, or should he stay silent, hoping the storm would pass? Either choice felt perilous. Meanwhile, fans and journalists had turned the streets into a theater of speculation. Every tweet, every live stream, every post dissected the minutiae of Karlie's arrest and the leaked conversations, fueling a cycle of rumor and paranoia. Some argued that the tape proved collusion, others claimed it was misinterpreted. But everyone agreed on one thing: the drama was unprecedented. The complexity of relationships, old rivalries, and secret alliances created a narrative so tangled that no single perspective could encompass it all. Inside, Karlie's lawyer had begun assembling a strategy, knowing that the stakes were more than legal. They were emotional, reputational, and personal. Every decision had to consider the impact on her career, her relationships, and the public's perception. Karlie listened intently as the plan was outlined, her mind simultaneously calculating and replaying every word from the tape. The tension escalated further when an unexpected visitor arrived. A mutual friend, known for being deeply entangled in past dramas, appeared at the station without prior notice. Their presence introduced another layer of uncertainty. Whispers spread that they had information capable of either salvaging Karlie's reputation or amplifying the chaos. Their arrival sparked a wave of speculation. Officers exchanged glances, recognizing the potential for new complications. Karlie felt a surge of both relief and apprehension. Relief that someone she trusted might provide insight, apprehension that the moment could spiral beyond control. As conversations unfolded, the leaked tape continued to dominate online discourse. Clips were edited, screenshots circulated, and comments exploded with conjecture and emotion. Fans dissected body language, tone, and phrasing, attempting to reconstruct the private dynamics between Karlie, Kirk, and Mendeecees. The digital frenzy mirrored the tension in the station, creating a pressure cooker environment where every word mattered. Meanwhile, Kirk received an anonymous message claiming knowledge of the original source of the leak. The message hinted that betrayal had come from an unexpected direction, someone within their inner circle, a realization that caused a surge of anger and panic. Mendeecees, aware of the message circulating, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He understood that the next move could redefine alliances and change the course of reputations permanently. In the hours that followed, Karlie and Rashida devised a plan to manage the narrative carefully. They knew that any misstep, any premature revelation, could exacerbate the situation. The public's appetite for scandal was insatiable, and the pressure to perform, explain, and control the story weighed heavily on them. The leaked tape had set in motion a chain reaction that seemed unstoppable, and yet, as morning turned to afternoon, Karlie found herself preparing for the inevitable, facing cameras, journalists, and potentially Kirk and Mendeecees in a way that demanded courage, strategy, and precision. The city itself seemed to hold its breath, poised at the edge of a revelation that could shatter careers, friendships, and perceptions. As she rehearsed what she might say, the implications of the tape, the arrest, and the looming confrontations became clearer. She was no longer merely a participant in the drama, she was the pivot upon which the story now turned, and every next moment carried the potential to redefine the narrative entirely. The storm was far from over, and the real challenge had only just begun. Every glance, every phone buzz, every whisper signaled that the city, the fans, and the network of relationships surrounding her were waiting for her move. Each actor in the unfolding saga aware that the next revelation could set everything ablaze. Karlie took a deep breath, steeling herself, knowing that courage, clarity, and timing were her only weapons in a game that had already claimed innocence, trust, and control as casualties. And as the day wore on, the city watched, waited, and wondered who would falter, who would rise, and how the secrets hidden in that tape would ultimately reshape every life involved. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Atlanta, but inside the station, the atmosphere was darker than any night. Karlie, though exhausted, refused to let the fatigue show. Every time she glanced at the small windows separating her from the bustling hallway, she felt the weight of unseen eyes, of fans and journalists trying to read her every move, trying to predict the next twist in a story that had already spiraled far beyond anyone's control. Rashida sat nearby, her arms crossed, silently counting the minutes, aware that the slightest slip could be magnified into another viral moment. Meanwhile, Kirk and Mendeecees were each navigating their own tense environments. Kirk had barricaded himself in a private room at his residence. Phones muted, messages unanswered, replaying the tape repeatedly to catch nuances he might have missed. Every phrase from Mendeecees, every pause, every tone of voice now carried potential consequence, a subtle shift that could mean either exoneration or destruction. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was pacing in a secluded lot, watching the comings and goings of nearby vehicles, convinced that someone had eyes on him, that every action might be scrutinized or misinterpreted. As the tape continued, circulating online, speculation reached a fever pitch. Fans argued over the intentions behind every word, dissecting facial expressions captured in screenshots, debating the morality, loyalty, and motives of everyone involved. The public's imagination ran wild, weaving stories within stories, creating a narrative that was part truth, part fabrication, all amplified by emotion. Inside the station, Karlie's lawyer had drafted a plan to carefully control her next public statements. Each word had to be precise, each gesture measured, as the team knew the social media echo chamber could distort even the slightest nuance. Karlie listened, absorbing every suggestion, weighing the risks, preparing herself for a performance that was equal parts confession, defense, and revelation. Just as the strategy was taking shape, an unexpected visitor arrived at the station, an individual with deep ties to the scene, someone who had been present during key conversations but whose involvement had remained hidden until now. Their entrance introduced an entirely new variable. Officers and onlookers exchanged wary glances, unsure of the visitor's intentions, aware that a single revelation could ignite a cascade of reactions. Karlie, sensing the potential impact, motioned for Rashida to stay close, whispering, "This could change everything." The visitor's presence triggered a wave of tension, and a quiet but charged dialogue ensued, filled with veiled references, unfinished sentences, and threats barely hidden beneath polite tones. Outside, social media erupted with speculation about who had entered the station and why, fans constructing elaborate theories about new betrayals and alliances. The city seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if every heartbeat synchronized with the unfolding drama. Kirk received a cryptic message hinting that the leak had been orchestrated deliberately, not accidental. The implication that someone within his trusted circle had betrayed him sent a rush of anger and paranoia through his veins. He contemplated confronting associates directly, but each choice seemed fraught with danger. Revealing knowledge prematurely could backfire, while silence risked being interpreted as guilt. Mendeecees, aware of the same possibilities, struggled with similar dilemmas. Each decision carried implications that extended far beyond immediate reputations, touching careers, relationships, and public perception in ways that could be irreversible. Meanwhile, the tape itself became a currency, a weapon, and a magnet for attention. Snippets, screenshots, and edited versions circulated relentlessly, each iteration generating new waves of analysis, outrage, and speculation. Fans debated which side was telling the truth, who was manipulating whom, and what secrets might still lie undiscovered. Inside the station, Karlie's composure began to show cracks. Fatigue, stress, and the relentless pressure of knowing the tape contained information that could either save her or destroy her made her restless. Rashida offered quiet counsel, reminding her to stay measured. But even the strongest support could not erase the looming uncertainty. As evening approached, reporters camped outside grew more assertive, shouting questions, waving cameras, and attempting to provoke statements. The officers, already on edge, worked to maintain order. Aware that the narrative outside could influence the unfolding legal and personal drama within, Karlie's lawyer prepared for the inevitable, rehearsing responses, anticipating questions, and considering how to leverage the leaked tape to support her position. The interplay of media, legal maneuvering, and personal stakes created an environment of high tension, where every glance, word, and action was scrutinized, recorded, and interpreted. The city itself seemed to exist in a state of suspended disbelief, with each resident and fan caught between curiosity, judgment, and fascination. As night fell, Karlie steeled herself for what would come next, aware that the decisions she made in the following hours could redefine her relationships, her career, and her public image. The storm was intensifying. The actors were all in place, and the tape, still circulating, and still potent, threatened to upend everything. With the weight of public attention, personal betrayal, and looming revelation pressing down, Karlie understood that she was no longer merely reacting. She was at the center of a drama that could not be contained, and every move she made would ripple outward, shaping the story in ways that were both unpredictable and inevitable. The city held its collective breath, waiting, watching, as the night stretched on, every second carrying the potential for another shocking revelation that could ignite emotions, split loyalties, and leave no one untouched in the aftermath of the leaked tape. The night grew heavier, the air charged with a tension that seemed to seep into every corner of Atlanta's celebrity landscape. Inside the station, Karlie remained seated, her posture rigid, eyes darting at every movement, aware that one misstep could be catastrophic. Rashida stayed close, her calm demeanor a counterbalance to Karlie's restless energy, though even she could feel the pressure mounting with each passing minute. Outside, fans had transformed the sidewalk into a living, breathing spectacle. Cameras flashed, voices shouted, and theories bounced around like wildfire. Every snippet of information, every rumor, every comment on social media became fodder for debate, speculation, and outrage. The leaked tape had sparked a frenzy, and no one could predict the trajectory it would take. Inside, Karlie's lawyer convened a small meeting with a few trusted advisors, including Rashida. They pored over every detail, every angle, considering how best to control the narrative without revealing more than necessary. The stakes were astronomical. Karlie understood that any slip could be seized upon by the media, misrepresented, and amplified to a degree that could irreparably damage reputations. Kirk and Mendeecees, meanwhile, were each grappling with the implications of the tape in isolation. Kirk replayed the recording, scrutinizing every inflection, every pause, every subtle nuance that might hint at an unseen motive or hidden agenda. He realized that the leak was not accidental. Someone had a plan, and he had no way to trace it fully. Mendeecees felt the same pressure, pacing endlessly in a secluded location, questioning loyalties, evaluating who might have betrayed him, and wondering how far the consequences could spread. As the hours dragged on, new leaks began to surface. Snippets of private messages, partial videos, and edited conversations made their way online, further fueling speculation and confusion. Fans argued, some defending Karlie, others condemning her, while many speculated on who among the inner circle had orchestrated the leak. Inside the station, the tension escalated. Karlie's frustration grew as she realized that controlling the narrative outside was as critical as defending herself inside. Rashida tried to calm her, reminding her that patience and strategy were crucial. But even the strongest guidance could not dissolve the anxiety of knowing that the public eye was relentless and unforgiving. At one point, an unexpected visitor arrived, a figure from the past, with deep ties to the circle. Someone who had been present during pivotal events but whose involvement had been largely hidden. Their presence added a new dimension to the situation. Whispered conversations, veiled threats, and cryptic warnings filled the air. Every participant in the drama understood that a single word, a single revelation, could escalate tensions further, sparking conflicts that might have long-term consequences. Outside, social media exploded. Clips were edited, screenshots circulated, and fans analyzed every gesture, expression, and inflection. Speculation ran rampant, with theories ranging from orchestrated stunts to deep betrayals. Journalists scrambled for exclusive details, seeking interviews, statements, and confirmation, while the public devoured each fragment of information with insatiable curiosity. Inside, Karlie prepared for her next move, mentally rehearsing what she would say when confronted by cameras, journalists, and perhaps even Kirk and Mendeecees themselves. She knew that the leaked tape was more than evidence. It was a symbol, a trigger, and a shield, and handling it improperly could unravel everything she had worked to protect. Kirk and Mendeecees each contemplated their next steps. Confronting the leak directly risked exposure. Ignoring it risked public condemnation. The tension between their choices created an almost unbearable pressure, compounded by the uncertainty of who might have engineered the entire situation. By late night, Karlie and Rashida had formulated a plan to manage the unfolding chaos. The focus was on careful, deliberate communication, ensuring that truth, perception, and timing were aligned to prevent further damage. Yet even with a plan in place, the unpredictability of the public, the media, and the complex web of relationships surrounding them meant that anything could happen at any moment. The city itself seemed to pulse with anticipation, aware of the stakes but unaware of the depth of the drama. The leaked tape, the arrest, the whispered threats, and the swirling rumors had created a perfect storm of tension, intrigue, and potential destruction. Karlie, sitting quietly in the corner of the room, understood that she was no longer a passive participant. Every choice, every word, every gesture she made from this point forward would carry consequences that extended beyond her immediate circumstances, threatening careers, friendships, and public perception. The night stretched. On, the tension intensifying. And the players, in this unfolding saga, realized that the next hours could redefine their lives, leaving no one untouched and ensuring that the ripple effects of the leaked tape would continue to reverberate across Atlanta's entertainment world for days, weeks, and perhaps even longer. Every heartbeat, every glance, every whispered conversation now mattered, and the city held its collective breath, waiting for the inevitable next revelation that could ignite emotion, betrayals, and secrets hidden for years. As we reach the end of this explosive drama, one thing is clear: Karlie's arrest, the leaked tape, and the secrets of Kirk and Mendeecees have shaken the very foundation of Atlanta's entertainment world. The alliances, the betrayals, and the hidden truths are still unfolding, and no one knows what will happen next. Will Karlie rise from this chaos stronger than ever? Or will the revelations continue to divide friends, fans, and family? Will Kirk and Mendeecees face consequences for what's been exposed? Or is there more to the story lurking behind the scenes? This is a saga that isn't over, and you, the audience, are part of it. We want to hear your thoughts. Who do you believe is truly at fault? What do you think will happen next? Comment below and let your voice be heard. Don't forget to hit like if you were shocked by the drama, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future updates or exclusive reveals. Stay tuned, because in a story this intense, every moment counts, and the next twist could be even more shocking than anything we've seen so far.